If Mortal Kombat 9 was a story of a middle-aged man dyeing his hair, shedding extra weight, and buying a motorcycle to pick up a younger woman, then Mortal Kombat 10 is the predictable outcome, where he relapses, gains all the weight back, crashes the bike, and receives multiple restraining orders. And somewhere along the lines it must have caught a herpes virus after that one time it made out poorly with the DC universe. Because Mortal Kombat 10 is not only a fighting game with a dumb plot, it's a fighting game with a dumb plot that attempts to create an expanded universe in the form of comic books. Comic books that it expected you to have read before playing the game if you want to know what's going on, because they tie into everything. I'm perfectly fine with games branching out and having movies and comics and even the laughable attempt at a novelization, even when it's a fighting game. That's what gave us the classic Street Fighter animated movie after all. But for as much time as I dedicated to memorizing every frame of Chun-Li's shower scene, I don't want that knowledge to be required to understand what's going on in the next game.
Millions of years ago, Shinnok, one of the Elder Gods, turned on his fellow deities and invaded the Earth Realm.
Are you telling me that Mortal Kombat's version of the devil tried to take over a planet filled with dinosaurs, and the Elder Gods actually cared enough to stop him? At that point, Earth was just free real estate, yet nowadays with a planet full of intelligent life, they can't be bothered to do much more than join a group chat and offer advice. The Elder Gods are only allowed to be useful in opening narrations that talk them up a lot, which feels a bit like every deity's holy book talking up their miracles and feats during the olden days, when they got to dictate the words on a page, which they coincidentally stopped doing after literacy rates improved. Now they just work through your doctor to cure Grandma's cancer. The Elder Gods don't seem to concern themselves with anything that doesn't involve martial arts. They don't even expect people to worship them. The only religion on display in these games is Buddhism, and the last time I checked, the Elder Gods don't fit into that one very well. Yet Raiden can always be found chilling at Buddhist temples, which has to be some serious heresy, since he's a deity of Japanese Shintoism who serves a completely foreign pantheon. It seems like Shinnok is far less of a threat than Shao Kahn was. Raiden needed an entire force of elite fighters to oppose him, and the act of crossing over to this dimension was apparently all he needed to do.
Set her down nice and easy for me.
Don't I always?
If by always you mean not once. Major?
Johnny Cage is less of a douche in this game, but they compensated by giving him an even more punchable face. I have yet to figure out why a movie star is able to give orders to soldiers combating a global demon invasion. Your IMDb page full of action movie roles doesn't count as past combat experience or proficiency at leading special forces. Mortal Kombat 9 used a standard design that all female characters in a fighting game must have measurements so extreme that they could be used as test questions in college geometry classes. Well, it seems like the devs at NetherRealm wanted people to take them serious this time while you rip out a man's spleen through his anus. So Mortal Kombat 10 is the video game equivalent of hurriedly hiding the porn on your monitor with a website on Bible verses when family walks in.
Gods, portals, flying demons.
Blind guys with magic swords.
Kenshi has dropped into the plot so suddenly that I had to do a double take. The other characters seem to know who he is and trust him, but he wasn't present for the events of the previous game. It makes you realize you're going to be looking these people up on a wiki later. Mortal Kombat, did you add QuickTime events to your fighting game? You're already a game built around memorizing button combos and inputting them as fast as you can. You don't need them in cutscenes as well. You've taken another step to becoming Shenmue. Sub-Zero is looking distinctly non-cyborg, which is how he ended up in Mortal Kombat 9. I'm told this is something that is explained in a comic, but I'm going to tell you the real reason Sub-Zero is no longer a cyborg. It's because Sub-Zero and Scorpion are the faces of this series, and a goofy-looking robot makes for a poor substitute. Even in a fighting game, the opening helicopter ride ends in a crash. Half-Life reference spotted. Why? I don't know. Fujin slits the demon that was standing over Raiden in half, and I would like to know how he avoided cutting Raiden in half along with it, since Raiden was directly beneath it and Fujin's axe hit the ground. This is also the only useful thing Fujin will do in the entire game. He disappears after this and never shows up again until you buy him as DLC. In Mortal Kombat 11, here's an interesting fact. Of the 6 characters in this scene, only 2 of them are playable. This is the result of killing off a bunch of characters and then reviving them. Now they stand around as NPCs in cutscenes.
You abandoned them to their deaths. I returned them to life.
Yeah, he knows. Raiden was there when you showed them off for the first time. He had to fight them even.
Nightwolf!
I'm glad the new guy Kenshi is fitting in so well with the old cast despite not having met them before they died. Considering how prominent Kenshi is in this game, you'd think he would have his own chapter. But he's a DLC character who doesn't get a playable chapter like the rest of the good guys.
Smoke. Smoke is dead. I am an Ninra.
Smoke is also here with a new name and no other scene beyond this one. He isn't even a DLC character, so I'm not sure why they even bothered.
We're gonna fix you someday.
Maybe capture Smoke and Jack so you can find a way to fix them then, or at least make sure they won't be a threat any longer.
You see it now, Raiden. Your legacy. You poison their hearts with hope.
Shinnok isn't one of Troy Baker's better performances. He ends up sounding more like a high school theater student who only took the class to be near the girls in it, then trying to sound evil while suppressing the voice cracks of puberty.
And what do you offer? The same as you did millennia ago, when you betrayed your fellow Elder Gods and attacked Earthrealm. We stopped you then, imprisoned you in the Netherrealm.
In the eyes of some fanboys, I'm the evil villain who defiles their golden calves. Yet no one begins their rants to me by listing my accomplishments and crimes. They just call me a son of a bitch who still lives in his parents' basement. To which I respond, how dare you speak to the man who sinned all 3 Kingdom Hearts games?
And all of Earthrealm will learn the truth of death.
I believe everyone on Earth is well aware that death exists. We have entire books on philosophy and religion written on the subject, though the cast of this series could use with a bit of re-education on the topic, since most of them were killed in the last game and then revived. Also, for a major villain whose theme is death, Shinnok fails to kill even a single person in this game. 2 Mortal Kombat games in a row center on a magical amulet. They couldn't even be bothered to go with a different geometric shape. They pulled as many scenes from the original Mortal Kombat movie as they could, so now they resort to borrowing from the Matrix. Johnny activates a full-body green glow that allows him to fight an Elder God. Johnny has exactly the tool he needs that he didn't even know he had at the perfect moment for it to be used. For someone in the acting business, Johnny should recognize a badly written plot when he sees it. Johnny Cage, of all people, defeats Shinnok. This sequence isn't exactly instilling any tension for the events to come. Why be so worried about Shinnok's return if you know exactly how to defeat him and have the means?
Raiden told me later that I'm descended from some Mediterranean war cult. Bred as warriors for the gods.
Since Raiden knew that Johnny Cage was descended from a cult of warriors bred to defeat gods, why not tell Johnny about that while they were fighting a war against an Elder God? He was their trump card and only came into play by accident. I have to assume if the Elder Gods bred a clan of warriors that specifically can fight Elder Gods, they intended for them to fight Shinnok should he ever return.
How about you, Cassie? Can you summon anything like that? Or did it skip a generation?
Cassie is the child of Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade. I assume all those punches Johnny delivered to Sonya's vag during their fight was somehow enough to impregnate her, because there was no further attempt to build a relationship after that moment. Mortal Kombat feels like it's trying to attract fans of young adult fantasy by placing all the emphasis on these 4 new characters, 3 of which are the children of established characters. There's the empowered female lead, her minority BFF, the hot guy, and the gay guy. Mortal Kombat now resembles your Twitter feed, only with more shocking reaction gifs. I guess it's fitting that one of Cassie's fatalities involved posting a selfie to Instagram.
We didn't need a Halo in Darfur, or Iran, or Kurdistan, did we, Jackie?
Nope, we didn't.
This line just screams. Please take us seriously when they send us to fight Master of the Universe rejects in a different plane of existence. Unless these kids get deployed every week on a new mission, I can't see how they've racked up an impressive tour of duty. 2 of them can't be much older than 20.
Shaolin monks ever send you there, Jen?
I've seen plenty of action. Takeda and I both. Stuff that blow your special forces mind.
Shaolin Monastery sending out agents to combat evil isn't that far removed from someone from the UFC being sent to look into the pentagram someone has been drawing in the basement with cow's blood. I just came up with a better fighting game plotline than this game has to offer.
I'm glad the Shura Ryu chose me to join. New places, new faces.
Did you care for that attempt at romance between Johnny and Sonya in the last game, where Johnny hit on Sonya verbally, then hit her in the crotch physically, and they never brought up their potential relationship again until this game? Well, here's the exact same thing, only the guy is less douchey and the lady less of a bitch, and there isn't a single fight between them where someone gets hit in the groin. How am I supposed to know if the love is truly there if someone isn't the victim of CBT?
For your team's first mission, you're going to the Lin Kuei Temple. We haven't heard from the Grand Master in a while, so we need to make sure he's still on our side. That he's got our backs if things flare up again with Outworld. You need to bring him in, but don't be surprised if Sub-Zero's not willing to cooperate.
That would be the same Lin Kuei that Sub-Zero is from, and is somehow in charge of even though he was a dead revenant fighting for Shinnok in the last chapter. Apparently he got better, and the game plans to sit on how that happened for a while without explaining it. Meanwhile, in California, Outworld is in the middle of a civil war between Melina, the cannibalistic daughter of Shao Kahn, and Kotal Khan, the new ruler of Outworld who possesses a taste for public executions and living sacrifice. I hope the weather is nice in Outworld, because I don't see the property values increasing much regardless of who wins. Melina is in possession of Shinnok's amulet, which Raiden took to the Elder Gods after capturing Shinnok inside of it. I guess the gods didn't put much effort into protecting it, which makes me wonder how they managed to keep him locked up for millions of years before they only managed 20 years this time. Kano tries to assassinate Kotal Khan with a surprise quicktime event. Failing these QTEs has 0 consequence. I was at least expecting to start the actual fight with less health if you mess them up. Something to actually add a point to them being here. That obsidian knife through the spine doesn't kill or cripple Kano. I can ignore the lethal damage of X-ray attacks during a fight being walked off, but I can't ignore it during a cutscene.
You are the Edenian, Tanya.
I'm pleased you remember me, Koata.
Another Edenian, the supposed half-god.
If the first thing out of your character's mouth is him explaining who he's looking at every time he meets a new person in the scene, maybe you should have considered introducing us to them in a situation that would allow their characters to come through. That's the whole point of including a more cinematic story mode. Otherwise, you could have stuck to a bio in the game manual. Even when characters try to finish off someone lying beaten on the ground, someone else will come along and rescue them at the last second, even if it's someone who clearly wouldn't give a damn if someone else died, like Melina. Shinnok's amulet does more damage to Melina than the person she uses it on.
Once we hit the drop point, we split up. Jackie and I will come in from the south, you two from the west.
Cassie gives these orders to split into 2 teams and infiltrate the Lin Kuei Temple, but then they show up as a single group at the front door.
Cassandra Cage, you lead this group, and they do not follow. What would your mother do?
One after another, they each have a fight with Sub-Zero, get their ass handed to them, then fight NPCs in the background while the next team member takes their turn at him.
This was all a
training exercise.
Damn, I should have seen it.
You and your friends show much promise, Cassandra Cage. But until you function as one, you will fall short.
How do you even follow that advice when the game is built around one-on-one fights? This isn't Tom Clancy's Mortal Kombat.
So when did they show up?
The portal opened by the docks a few hours ago.
Nearly 5,000 in all. Refugees from the Outworld Civil War.
Must be bad if they risked coming to Earthrealm.
Considering that Outworld has always been depicted as containing all the horrors of a death camp combined with the zealotry of a devil-worshipping cult, I'm surprised Outworlders haven't been migrating to Earth before the Civil War.
The rebels, Melina, had a weapon unlike anything. Entire battalions erased. It was not honorable, not combat.
Lady, I have yet to see a single rule about what constitutes honorable combat in Outworld. It's a place where every type of weapon is usable, along with changing the rules of a tournament on a whim.
I need to confirm with Kotal Khan that Li Mei's story is true. You and your team are going to Outworld.
They failed their test in the worst way possible, displaying that Cassie sucks as a leader and the rest are too hot-headed to follow orders. So of course they send them on a very important mission to Outworld to find a missing amulet containing a god of death.
I don't know, I expected the sky to be purple or something.
Don't believe everything you see online.
And what makes you an expert?
The Shaolin Archives. I studied a lot about Outworld.
It always gives me confidence when I hear the people sent on an important fact-finding mission to another world talk about how they have never been there before and are completely ignorant of it.
Now state your business, including a reason why we shouldn't kill you.
Troy Baker is also voicing Aaron Black, a cowboy from Earth who's been in Outworld for centuries now and somehow manages to keep his revolvers fully loaded despite there being no other guns here. Jin risks their lives, their mission in a possible war with Outworld to disrupt the public execution of a thief. And that leads into a flashback to the time Kung Jin broke into Raiden's temple to steal an heirloom from Kung Lao's shrine. Also, we can learn that Jin is a former thief, and that's why he stopped the execution. But then they awkwardly reveal that he's gay. I don't think Mortal Kombat needed help being more gay than it already is. If you're describing a game about a muscular barbarian wearing a loincloth who challenges other sweaty muscular men to physical combat and everyone has a name that sounds straight out of porn casting, it already sounds pretty gay. And Mortal Kombat is about as effective at representing diverse characters and alternative lifestyles as it is at encouraging people to become organ donors. Some might even argue that Mortal Kombat, a series originally built on the infamy of grotesque gore at a time when it wasn't socially acceptable, makes for a pretty poor vehicle for social grandstanding. Well, I for one salute you for your stunning and brave character that will never bring up his sexuality again and will be cut from the roster in the next game.
Your family honored me with this memento of your cousin Lao after his death.
A death you caused! You made him fight Shao Kahn and stood there while that bastard snapped his neck!
How would you know Raiden let Kung Lao die if you weren't there? And you would have been like 5 years old when you last saw Kung Lao. Is his death really that painful to you 20 years later?
Go to the Wuxi Academy. Join the Shaolin, like Kung Lao before you.
I can't. They won't accept.
They care only about what is in your heart, not whom your heart desires.
Well, that's where you're wrong. Buddhist monks typically live a life of celibacy.
You want to take this opportunity to tell us what the fuck shit you were thinking?
I like Ashley Birch, but not enough to let her mad-lib lines, because when you do, she just ends up sounding like Chloe from Life is Strange.
How do I know you are not allied with Melina? Perhaps her newfound power has earned her new friends.
Friends? No. No, we're not even sure that's Shinnok's amulet she has.
She employs Shinnok's amulet against me. The very item Earthrealm swore would be safe in its care.
What a crack team they put together for this mission. Jin caused an incident and Cassie just revealed unconfirmed and secret information to the leader of Outworld, who is in the middle of a civil war and might be very interested in obtaining a powerful magical artifact.
You are allied with Melina. You may carry out your sentence.
So you believe Earthrealm allied themselves with Melina after she stole Shinnok's amulet, the same Melina that you know holds a grudge against Earthrealm over the death of her father Shao Kahn, and then they came into the heart of your empire to disrupt the execution of a bread thief.
Under Outworld law, I claim the right of defense. By combat. Denying the request brings dishonor upon the accuser.
I believe that law is known as the "come at me bruh, you a pussy" clause among legal scholars.
One of the refugees. Found her near the north perimeter.
That's one of Kano's neckties.
After escaping Outworld, Kano crossed over with the refugees, then killed a random Outworld woman for seemingly no reason. Kano is the one who stole Shinnok's amulet from a high-security fortress sealed by Raiden's magic, but he can't slip out of a checkpoint without making his presence known.
This is what split us up in the first place. You disappear in your work. Never time for me and Cassie.
I had responsibilities. Sorry you couldn't be the center of attention.
Since the last time Johnny managed to touch Sonya's crotch, it wasn't exactly in a manner that would knock her up. We are subjected to a flashback where they fall in love in the depths of hell, while rescuing Sub-Zero, Scorpion, and Jax by freeing them from Quan Chi's control, both of which are accomplished by kicking Quan Chi in the balls. Last time I checked, Scorpion wasn't a revenant like the rest of them. He was something else. His head was a skull that breathed fire for crying out loud, but breaking Quan Chi's spell also brought him back to life as well. No one ever takes the opportunity to restrain a defeated enemy, so Quan Chi escaped that day. What was Kano pressing on his arm to deactivate his disguise? He shows his wrist a second later and there's nothing but bandages there.
Sonya, ease up.
You killed me.
In this new timeline, Sonya's justice boner for Kano makes little sense. He never murdered her partner in the reboot. She just wants to capture him really badly for little to no reason as far as I can tell.
Never find amulet.
So what did Kano get in return for his information on Melina? The game never explains. He just disappears from the plot.
That's not far. Maybe 200 kilometers.
200 kilometers through jungle terrain on foot is a very long distance actually. You're looking at weeks of travel, but they arrive, capture Melina, and return in what seems to be less than a day. Smartphones somehow receive a signal here in Outworld from Earth. They must be doing a real good job disguising the 5G towers.
You are not Shao Kahn's true heir. She is a construct, formed in Shang Tsung's flesh pits.
This is treated like shocking information. Kitana was Shao Kahn's heir and daughter for hundreds of years, while Melina showed up out of nowhere one day and was proclaimed Shao Kahn's daughter after Kitana switched allegiances. You're telling me no one questioned her origins? This moment made me realize that QuickTime events actually began with Mortal Kombat. A QTE is a series of time button prompts you have to enter in a given amount of time after all, meaning the much lauded fatalities are nothing more than a QTE, and always have been.
This one knows you desire the throne. Why serve Melina?
I advise her. Stealing the amulet was my genius. It kills her a bit each time she uses it.
As both sides diminish, you fill the void.
Exactly my plan.
Rain gives out this information willingly, as if revealing it wouldn't completely screw over his plan.
I know you said you weren't friends, but you're not killing them.
Why though? They're your enemies. Even when someone tries to do the smart thing, someone comes along and stops them. At the very least, they should capture them. They bring Melina back with them after all. I guess Jin has no problem watching this execution be carried out.
With your leave, we're gonna head back to Earthrealm. Put the amulet back where it belongs.
Hold on, that isn't one of Kotal Khan's moves.
The amulet is in Kotal Khan's possession.
You can retrieve it.
He trusts no one else to transport it.
Keeping you close to the Outworld throne these many years has proven most fortuitous, Devora.
Since Devora serves Quan Chi and Shinnok, why did she even bother bringing the amulet back to Kotal Khan to begin with? Once she retrieved it from Melina, she could have killed Cassie and taken off without anyone realizing what had happened.
My great-whatever grandfather took down Shang Tsung. Saved Earthrealm. How often do you think that comes up at family gatherings?
I've trained all my life. Can fight my way out of nearly anything. But I still feel like a second-rate cage.
At least you grew up with people expecting things from you.
I thought you and your dad were best friends.
Now, he was a no-show for a long time.
With the kind of sociopaths on display in the Mortal Kombat universe, I was expecting more than just daddy issues to explain what can drive a human to brutally mutilate another living person. I hope they're all not this simple. If I find out that Shang Tsung became a soul-stealing sorcerer because his parents pushed him too hard to go into a STEM field, they're going to have to add therapy to the list of things you can do to someone after beating them. You've got your fatality and friendships accounted for. One more way of dealing with a stubborn issue wouldn't hurt.
How'd you do that?
I overloaded his senses. It only works at short range.
Takeda's telepathy isn't supposed to work on anyone from Outworld. The only reason he could read Aaron Black earlier was because Aaron was from Earth.
Being the son of a telepath has its perks.
I didn't used to think so.
Can people shut their mouths and stop activating flashbacks all the time? Is it really that hard to come up with reasons for people to get into fights here in the present? Where exactly was this taking place 5 years ago on Earth, where you can find a destroyed city, a recently crashed airliner, and dogs eating people? That's more of a 2020 scenario than 2010.
10 years. No visits. Nothing. You abandoned me.
I did not abandon you.
I was 8. My mother had just died. Now you come back? Think you can jump right in as the proud dad?
They went through all the trouble of creating a tricked-out telekinetic cyber ninja, and then fill his mouth with sad whining noises about his dad.
I can read minds?
Through training, we will determine your full abilities. And then we will hunt down the Red Dragon. Together.
None of this stuff about the Red Dragon clan killing Takeda's mother matters since they are not in this game, and Takeda isn't even in the next one.
This is Devora's work.
No argument there. Only she could create wounds like these.
Reptile is standing right next to you, the guy who spits acid.
Okay guys, standard diamond formation. Takeda, you're on point. Jackie, bring up the rear. Kunji and prepare.
That formation doesn't last more than a second, because Cassie and Jackie run right past Takeda and Reptile to fight Ermac and Aaron Black. These QTE battles go on way too long. The entire game is about remembering combos to attack people. Just let me do it the traditional way.
Prepare the legions. We go to Earthrealm. We will wrest back the amulet from that devil Raiden.
With Melina dead and the Civil War over, Kotal Khan doesn't even need the amulet, but he is suddenly willing to risk a war with Earth, when the very reason he'd opposed Melina in the first place was because she refused to make peace with Earth after Shao Kahn's death.
Have you been able to determine where Devora was headed?
We think she's headed for the Sea of Blood.
We determined that based on absolutely zero facts. These phones work even when calling someone in hell.
But why is it Quan Chi travels by conventional means?
He seems unable to fully use his magic. He's weaker than when I was in his service.
Serena's dead on. He doesn't have Shinnok as a power source.
If that's the case, why was Quan Chi able to open a portal to enter and leave his fortress back when he confronted Sonya and Johnny, which was after Shinnok had been defeated? Do you recall when this used to be about a martial arts tournament? This is looking more and more like Call of Duty Mortal Kombat. Jax has pain receptors in his cyborg arms. Sindel is the only female character who got to keep her porn star figure from the last game, but that's only due to laziness, since they just ported her model and animations over to this game. Sindel easily killed Jax along with the rest of the cast in the last game, but here she's easily beaten. Power scaling is an issue I haven't touched on, but it's becoming impossible to ignore. Characters who get their ass kicked by one character are suddenly able to beat fighters that are canonically much stronger than them once they become playable. After beating Sindel, Jax goes on to beat Katana, Kung Lao, and Liu frickin' Kang.
Kenshi, I got him.
Excellent work.
I'm staying here. Devora's on her way. You need to get Quan Chi to Sonya.
You want to take any of these former comrades turned Revenant that Jax beat up back with you? The only person they bring back with them is Quan Chi, while Liu Kang was lying unconscious in the room with them.
I will have Quan Chi.
We have things under control. You can...
He must die.
They just brought Quan Chi in. How could Scorpion have learned about that and wrecked the refugee camp within minutes? I assume Scorpion, being a Japanese ninja, resides somewhere in Japan. Scorpion and his Shiryu ninjas attack the base, and he won't be considered an enemy after this despite how his actions nearly destroy the world. Kenshi's leg was messed up so bad he could barely walk back in the Netherrealm. I see that as no longer troubling him. If you were going to keep flashing back to 5 years ago, maybe you should have started the game then instead of now.
But Sector's cyber-preserved memories revealed the truth.
Sub-Zero killed Sector and found memories inside of him about a deal with Quan Chi to kill the Shiryu, except that would have happened before Sector became a cyborg and can digitally record his memories.
There is a debt to be paid, and Quan Chi will pay it.
So what stopped Scorpion from traveling to the Netherrealm to hunt down Quan Chi these past few years? Based off his fight with Sub-Zero in the last game, he can go there anytime he wants. Instead, it seemed like his plan was to wait around for Quan Chi to show up and make himself available. Jax was supposed to be guarding the portal in the Netherrealm Devora was headed for, yet here she is.
Get over here!
Ed Boon still insists on voicing this specific line for Scorpion, even after they hired a much better voice actor, so it doesn't quite match up.
He was wise to restore me in Earthrealm, behind their defenses.
Quan Chi deceived them, allowed himself to be captured. He knew they would bring him here.
Had Scorpion not screwed everything up by subduing all the special forces and freeing Quan Chi from his cell to kill him, Devora wouldn't have been able to get the amulet to Quan Chi.
There will be no surprises from you, Mr. Cage. Bring him.
Even Shinnok, the fallen Elder God and evil god of death, doesn't bother killing all the good guys he just knocked out, and brings Johnny Cage with him instead of killing him right away due to the danger he presents. This is why Jack should have captured the Revenants in the Netherrealm along with Quan Chi. And how are all these people using a portal that is supposed to be guarded by Jack's and Special Forces soldiers?
Your father, Shinnok's prisoner, at the Sky Temple.
I don't recall Shinnok saying anything about where he was going.
I've long regretted losing our comrades' souls to Netherrealm's evil. Kung Lao and Liu Kang, they were like sons. I would move the heavens to bring them back to the light.
Do you remember when you offered to bring Scorpion's family back to life if he didn't kill Sub-Zero in the tournament? How about you use that card for Liu Kang and Kung Lao then? Raiden's flashback takes place during the events of the second tournament, when Raiden sent Liu Kang and Kung Lao to rescue their Shaolin masters, and something Raiden wasn't present for as he was with Jax and Johnny Cage. Raiden also isn't wearing his time medallion during this flashback, something he kept on him throughout the entire game due to him trying to change the future and using it as a guide.
Liu Kang defeated Shang Tsung. He will beat Shao Kahn.
In good time, Kung Lao.
They must have completely forgotten about the plot of the last game, but the whole point was Raiden didn't know who needed to win. Yet here he is fixated on Liu Kang winning the second tournament after winning the first changed nothing. It also makes no sense that Baraka is present here on the docks. He was being beaten up by Jax in the first match of the tournament while Liu Kang and Kung Lao rescued the Shaolin monks.
Shall we kill him, Lord Shinnok?
Not yet. He will bear witness as I conquer his realm. Then I will imprison him as he did me.
I want to fulfill every bad villain cliché imaginable before my defeat. The twisted souls of the Netherrealm resort to high school bullying tactics to torment a god. Johnny was already restrained. I think D'Vorah just wanted to puke on him, making this scene look like something out of Garbage Pail Kids. Shinnok enters the Jinsei and turns the sky red. I don't really know what he's accomplished by doing this, other than transforming himself into the kind of enemy Doom Guy would kill with a single shotgun blast. What was wrong with his original design that made them switch to this for the final boss?
We'll enter the Sky Temple from the terrestrial entrance.
Why not go straight there?
It exists in a different quantum state, slightly out of phase from our reality. It can't be reached by conventional means.
Other than walking, which is as conventional as transportation gets.
I wouldn't have pegged you for outdoorsy.
Given Jackie's character, I think pegging is definitely into Kata's future.
My mother and I lived near a forest a lot like this. Really takes me back.
After we wrap this up, we should go.
Ah, you have parents. A point in common. I am now totally into you. The red storm caused Jackie to set their VTOL down in a random forest, and Kotal Khan opens a portal that just so happens to be right next to where they landed. It had to be chance since they had no way of tracking them. Otherwise, why not open one near D'Vorah, who you know took the amulet?
Earthrealm is lost.
Not if we hang together.
I will appease Shinnok. Bring him your heads. Gain time to bolster Outworld's defenses.
What makes you think Shinnok wants them? He doesn't even know who they are. Sub-Zero got all the way from his temple in the mountains in China to here awfully quick. And how did he know he was needed somewhere in a random forest?
You stood together against formidable odds. Lesser warriors would not have fared so well.
They have sucked the entire game, especially when fighting as a team. Considering this is a one-on-one fighting game, I don't even know why they keep pushing this concept.
Once the realm falls, our path to victory will be clear.
Advise Lord Shinnok that the Oni and Orochi are ready. At his command, we'll unleash them on Earthrealm.
Now would be a great time for the Elder Gods to do something. Last time I checked, Shinnok didn't win a Mortal Kombat tournament, and he is gunning for the Elder Gods themselves.
Has your mother ever told you what I did to her friends? Kill them all in the blink of an eye.
How do you even know she's Sonya's daughter? You've never met. You weren't even alive long enough to learn Sonya's name.
Boot it up!
You two go. Jackie and I'll handle them.
What? We'll just slow you down.
Those two were seriously injured by Katana. By the time Cassie wraps this up and returns for them, they should be dead. And considering that the Revenants see Cassie and Jin run into the Jinsei chamber, they would likely ignore Jackie and Takeda and go after those two.
Watch, Miss Cage, as I rend your father's flesh.
Shinnok learned absolutely nothing from the last time he was beaten by a cage.
Holy shit, it does run in the family.
It's not like this is a big surprise. After Johnny explained the power is hereditary, you already knew who would be saving the day this time. If the last game was all about avoiding the events of the future, it hasn't gone very well. This game started with Shinnok invading Earth, which is right in line with Mortal Kombat 4, and ends with Raiden having been corrupted by evil, just as he was in the original timeline. At this point, they retconned the series just to redo it all over again.
Those were $500 sunglasses, asshole.